Three, two, one, action. Welcome back to episode 35 of As Seen on Screen. I'm Gracie.
And I'm Nicole, and we're your source for entertainment news, reviews, conversations, and more.
You can find us wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts on Spotify or YouTube.
Well, thank you for joining us for another week here on the show. We're excited you're back. We have tons of exciting news in the entertainment world to go over today, including the Golden Globes, our official recap of the awards show. There is so much to talk about, from wins, losses, snubs, some other exciting things that happened during the night. Then we also have some other great news happening with film and television, some reviews coming your way of some films, and upcoming releases, of course. So let's get right into it, wasting no time. Golden Globes, Gracie, what was your overall thought of the award show this year?
Okay, Nicole and I we had the great idea of sharing our guesses and predictions of who's going to win to Instagram. And that, in hindsight, was such a bad idea because we did horribly.
We were so
Um,
wrong.
I'm pretty sure I got like eight right out of the entire night, which is not good because there's like 27 awards. Nicole did not get much more. So
Yeah.
either we're really bad at guessing or this was a surprise. I'm going to start off with one that shocked us both, but was very well deserved. Demi Moore won, and she won an award as a woman who was in a horror film. And as we entertainment nerds love to talk about, horror usually does not get any recognition during award season. And if it does, it's usually just a nomination. So the fact that she won this award, crazy. And her speech that went along with it, so good. So emotional, so well deserved, but definitely a shock because obviously I thought Honora was winning.
You know what? I love Demi Moore. It was funny. I actually watched Indecent Proposal, a movie that she's in from 1993 with Woody Harrelson, and such a good film. I really enjoyed that one, and it was very exciting to see her win, obviously, at the Golden Globes. So it's so surprising that that's her first major award in her entire
Yeah.
career. She's been in the industry for over 40 years. She's done so many great projects, like Ghosts is something people talk about. She's actually in St. Elmo's Fire, Indecent Proposal, like I said. I mean, there's a million things that she's in. Those are just the three that come to mind. But The Substance, she was fantastic in. Overall, The Substance, I don't know why. Body horror and me don't agree anymore, but but that did not take away from the fact that both her and Margaret were fantastic in the roles that they took on for that film. The physical like transformation with the makeup and everything. I can't imagine how grueling it was for that process. Just overall, it was a fantastic job done by her, and I'm so happy she took the Golden Globe. Like Greasy said, I thought that was not unexpected because I know a lot of people did want her to win. I truly didn't believe the Golden Globes would give it to her. And like Gracie was saying about horror and not usually getting recognition for that genre, I'm still a little bitter that Lily Rose Depp has yet to receive a nomination for Nosferatu, because if you've seen it, you know she is fantastic, and I need to see her get some sort of nomination this season. But nonetheless,
Highly doubt it.
yeah, I know.
As well deserved as it is,
Yes.
highly doubt it.
Yeah, my favorite part, I took a screenshot here of Demi Moore's speech, was her little basically ending to it when she says, "In those moments when we don't think we're smart enough or pretty enough or skinny enough or successful enough or basically just not enough. I had a woman say to me, 'Just know you will never be enough, but you can know the value of your own worth if you just put down the measuring stick.'" It was hands down the best speech of the night, and I believe it was Kerry Washington who was doing the presenting for those awards, and I think she said, "Good luck to whoever is following up that speech." I believe it was Kerry Washington.
She said it with a few swear words in there, but they bleeped it out.
I was just so happy for her. And someone else I'm very happy for, Sebastian Stan, he took home the award for Best Performance by a Male Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy for his role in A Different Man. Very excited. Gracie is also, I'm gonna let Gracie take this one because I know she's over the moon specifically about this one.
I love Sebastian Stan. He has been obviously nominated for awards majority of his career, and I don't understand why it's taken until now to give him an award because like he's given amazing performances. We had obviously The Apprentice this year, which was quite controversial, but also a stellar performance. Obviously, we have A Different Man, which was amazing. And then Pam and Tommy a few years back, I feel like he deserved an award for that because that was a crazy transformation for him to go fully into that role. But enough said about past roles. I'm so happy for him. I love that he took the chance to talk about the topics of this film and how it's important to see different representation in film and kind of giving those communities a voice. And I also love Anthony Mackie's reaction to Sebastian Stan winning because they're one of my favorite duos. So seeing them get to experience that together, iconic.
Him crashing the Entertainment Tonight interview, Anthony Mackie crashing Sebastian Stan's interview was so funny, and I just love their bond and their friendship from doing Marvel together. But I totally agree with what you're saying. I'm very glad he got the spotlight he deserved with this award because, like you said, we've both seen The Apprentice. Fantastic job by him. I was telling my parents because they both hadn't seen it, and like there were so many scenes where I was fully convinced they were putting real images of Donald Trump in the movie because he
For
looked
real.
so much like him and it was crazy. But just everything from like his mannerisms he did so well in that film. I've yet to see A Different Man. It's on my watch list. I need to watch it before the rest of awards season progresses. But I do know that I feel like he's very deserving of this recognition and specifically, like you were saying too, doing types of movies that matter so much. Like these are very impactful performances, especially to specific communities. I think it's just very important that Hollywood recognizes that work and not necessarily shy away from putting a spotlight on what messages they're trying to convey through films like this too.
I was also a little bit shocked with this one because it is also defined as like a thriller. So we're two for two for scary movies finally getting recognition, but also I love that he said playing Donald Trump was scarier than this movie. And I think he was kind of making a dig at all the people that didn't want to talk to him about The Apprentice. And I'm here for it because he's so right about making movies that need to be conversations that are had.
Moving into some other maybe surprises for some people, not surprises for others. Two films really swept the night with the awards. The Brutalist, which I personally wasn't surprised by, but I was a little surprised by Emilia Perez and how well the film did, especially because Anora was fully shut out of all the awards it was nominated for. Full disclosure, I've seen Anora, but I have not seen The Brutalist or Emilia Perez yet. Gracie has seen Emilia Perez, so we have two different sides to it, but I was kind of just basing my votes and my guesses off of reviews I had seen, people I know who had told me what they thought about it. I've heard very mixed things about Amelia Perez from both people that have seen it that I know and just reading reviews online. The Brutalist, I've really heard nothing but great things about. And personally, I loved Honora. So I was very surprised, especially with the buzz that it's been getting. And I do believe Honora, at least prior to the Golden Globes, was winning award season count for other award shows that have already happened, smaller ones. So I'm very, very surprised by this outcome. But what are your thoughts on this?
Amelia Perez, as fantastic as it was, I did not expect it to beat Enora because that's literally been all the buzz this award season so far. And especially everybody going in saying, oh, Mikey Madison is 100% gonna sweep all of these is crazy. But I'm also so grateful that Amelia Perez got the recognition because I think there's a 50-50 whether or not it goes to them for like Oscars, because that's a bit of a tougher race. But I'm glad they got recognition because it is an amazing film. I loved it. All the performances were stellar, and you could tell that it was really just a passion project. The Brutalist, I'm not surprised it won, to be honest. Like everybody's been talking about it. I feel like it is the go-to conversation in the entertainment world right now, is your opinion on The Brutalist. And we know a lot of people who are about to start yapping about this movie again now that it's started to sweep award season. So
I think it's just very, like you said, Oscars. I'm tr now trying to think about what's going to happen in a few months at the show, and like we talk about, the Golden Globes really sets up what it's going to look like for Best Actor, Actress, Supporting Actress for these categories because Golden Globes are split into two, drama and then comedy and musical, and then Oscars we have to combine them. And honestly, I don't know. I really don't because so many things. Not so many things, but quite a few things went differently than I think I thought they were going to go last night.
apparently a lot of things did because we both scored horribly.
Half of my guesses were from the heart and half of them from my brain. And I'm
The
probably
brain usually wins.
but moving into television a little bit, no surprise that Shogun also swept for television for awards. I'm personally a little sad about Nobody Wants This. And also, disclaimer,
Disclaimer.
disclaimer has no fans. I am dead because I love that limited series. Television is always a little bit of a toss-up too. I felt like this year felt different because like we've talked about, The Bear definitely has always
Can we
done.
talk about Jeremy Allen White winning again?
See, the reason I didn't guess Jeremy Allen White for that category was because I didn't feel like The Bear got as much hype for this last season as it has in the past, and I hadn't heard much about it after it came out. So I was surprised that he took it again. And now Jeremy Allen White is fabulous in that
Oh,
role.
100%.
I took not arguing that at all. I
Mhm.
just thought specifically for this year and the other shows that it was up against and the other actors that he was up against, I was surprised he took it again, personally.
Moving on, my favorite part of the night, I cannot even lie about this. Actually, no, it's tied. Okay, here were my two favorite parts of the night. And if you can't guess what I'm talking about, I'm going to be very upset. But number one, in no particular order, because there's only two. One, Andrew Garfield putting on his glasses was a moment.
Gracie and I texted each other basically the exact same. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, I have to text Gracie.
Was the way I was captivated. And all of the internet apparently was captivated too, because now it's everywhere. And I'm like, I'm glad we weren't the only ones that were like, wow. I saw one and it was like, don't ask me the color of anything. I was literally just looking at Andrew Garfield. And I find that accurate.
Exactly how I felt in that moment.
The second point I wanted to say for my favorite part of the night was the Canadian entertainment shout out that we got from Seth Rogen and Catherine O'Hara. Obviously, two icons in the Canadian universe, but also cinematic universe. Canada doesn't get a lot of recognition when it comes to award season, usually, or just any season. It's usually thought of as in the US, like US actors, US sets. Everything that's filmed in Toronto always gets changed to like New York. So I feel like we just don't get a lot of representation, honest representation. And seeing them up there kind of like poke fun at that, but also make some killer comedic jokes. I was pissing myself laughing. I love them so much. And I hope they host a Canadian award show together one day. And if they can't do that, then host the Golden Globes next year, please, because that was my favorite part.
Personally, I think the Golden Antler should be
Iconic.
a new award show.
Like the awards they were saying. I was like, the US has the Oscars, they have the Golden Globes, they have the SAG Awards. What do we have? We have the Canadian Screen Awards.
If you go to music, we got the Junos.
That's basically it. Like we need the golden antlers, we need the golden beaver, we need all of the awards that they were talking about. Do I know what they would be for? Not at all, but we need them.
I thought it was brilliant. That was the funniest part of the whole night for me, honestly. That was my parents and I were dying laughing. I thought it was just genius, like Gracie was saying. Some of the things they were coming out with, man, that was so
Unhinged.
good.
Unhinged.
That was, you know what? And honestly, like I know some people I've read online, they're like, this was a little cringy as a Canadian. I thought it was
No.
hilarious. I thought it was great. I
If
think
you thought that was cringy, you are not in Canadian entertainment, and it shows. I also think it was a great plug for their new TV show that's coming out. They also released a clip, I believe, before the Golden Globes started, and it was a clip from the show that was basically talking about Golden Globes and how they now invite a lot of influencers. And I think the marketing and promotion for this show has been fantastic so far.
Yes, so the studio comes out March 26th of this year on Apple TV Plus. I will definitely be tuning in. They have my attention for
Yes,
sure.
they
Like you said, the marketing on point. I'm very excited to check this one out. They're two comedy legends, so I'm sure the show will be hilarious. Something else that I thought was an interesting choice that they did Golden Globes night was they did fun facts underneath the names of every presenter that came up. There was a few weird things going on with how they did the presenters this year. We'll get to the other stuff after, but the first thing I want to talk about is the like fun facts that they did under their names. So if you weren't reading them, for example, for Dwayne Johnson,
mm,
he holds multiple Guinness World Records, including one for the most selfies on a red carpet in 3 minutes. We also have Kaylee Kyoko. Before becoming a full-time actress in 2002, Kyoko was a nationally ranked amateur tennis player. There was also some very interesting ones talking about how Demi Moore is a doll collector. She is an avid doll collector and keeps a separate residence to house her 2,000 plus vintage dolls. And I was following up on this after Shannon Burns, one of the reporters for eTalk, was posting on her story how she dug into it a little bit more. And she started out with when Bruce Willis, her ex-husband, gave her a like vintage porcelain doll one year and she loved it so much that he began collecting more for her, and she continued to do that. And then apparently, when she was married to Ashton Kutcher, he was so freaked out by these dolls that he would like go and move them away so they weren't facing them when they were sleeping, which I do not
valid.
blame him at all because I would do the exact same thing. I mean, the fun facts didn't really, honestly, I didn't really pay attention to the fun facts. I went back and read them afterwards, like I'm doing now.
Mm.
I did not read them during the show.
I want to know who pitched that idea. Like, who is like, hey, hear me out. We have a classy award show, but we're gonna make it seem like a preschool talent show where when they walk out, we're gonna have really weird facts about them. And you know what? I'm here for it, but I also didn't care enough to read them because I was focusing on what they were wearing and what they were saying. So,
We also had the sideways camera angle going on, which
ugh,
the internet was so angry about. I didn't like it. My parents and I were sitting there like, what is happening? Basically, if you weren't watching the show, they had the presenter stand with in the middle of the stage, but sideways. So their back was to one half of the audience, and they were facing the other half. The camera was kind of sideways to them as well, so they were already standing sideways, and the camera was a little bit diagonally beside them. Even Seth Rogen, before he got into his Canadian
eh,
spiel, was like, "We gotta talk about the camera angles. This is not working. We need to go back to straight on." And they did do a straight on angle for a few of them. I noticed it was basically mostly for if they came up singular. Viola Davis was the one I remember. I believe they also had Glenn Close was a front-on angle, but only a few of them got it.
wasn't Miles Teller and
Anya
uh,
Taylor-Joy, they were straight on too. Yeah.
it was just weird, and like Nicole and I were going back and forth just being like what is going on with these camera angles but also what's going on with the glitches because there was one award where it just kept showing the same person every time they said a new name, and even he was confused. He was like, what is going on? Locator thing they had for where they were sitting.
I saw someone say on Twitter too, or X, they were like, yes, I really want to know where the celebrity is located in the audience of the room that I'm not in and not a
For
clip
real.
of the movie or television show that they're in.
Just in case you wanted to run and get a picture with them, this is where they're sitting.
It was a weird choice. That was a really like at first when it first came on, I was like, "Oh, that's kind of different." And then by like the third time, I was like, "Wait,
I
why
hate
are
it.
we doing this? I don't understand." Um, I have to say though about this sideways camera angle, my one redeeming quality of that was Hugh Grant was in the background of a lot of them. And in like the first one they did, he's fully turned around in his chair, like leaning over the chair kind of like bent over it. He just looks
He's
he
unimpressed.
he was somewhat impressed and he was like he had his Hugh Grant attitude about him and I thought that was the funniest thing. And he just looked so they all kind of just looked very monotone. Monotone feels like the word to go with.
It seemed very, I don't want to say artsy. Artsy is not the right word, but it just wasn't as classy and like award season worthy as it usually is, you know?
I feel like they try to like I don't know if modernize is the right word either. But I just feel like they're trying to change it up. They're probably trying to bring a different audience, attract a different audience to it, making it
Yeah.
maybe more like social media friendly. Like we said, lots of influencers get invited to this now. I didn't totally love how a few things were run. At times it did feel a little disorganized, so it made it a little hard to watch come like the middle of it. But overall, it was an interesting show for sure. There's lots to talk about after. I was very happy about a few of these wins, but there's something else that people online discovered very quickly, including one of our Canadian entertainment friends,
I'm
Liz.
gonna shout out Liz,
Yeah.
producer Liz. I swear she was the first person to break this story because none of us have her eagle eyes. Zendaya and Tom Holland are engaged. She was seen wearing a gorgeous ring on her ring finger, and it did not match any of her other jewels because she is an ambassador for Bulgari. So she was wearing all of those jewels and then one jewel that was not even remotely similar, and it looks very much like an engagement ring. And I believe it comes up online when you like Google the ring as an engagement ring. So, congratulations to them. Apparently, they got engaged over New Year's and they wanted something very quiet. And I'm not totally shocked about this announcement because they've both recently been very open about their want to start a family just in general and how they're ready to start slowly taking steps back from acting. So it seems like everything is just working out for them. And I love them together. I think this is like soulmates finding each other. So I'm here for it. I could not be happier.
They seem like such a sweet couple, and what you said in recent interviews, talking about just their different parts of their relationship, keeping things private between them. Tom often has said before too, as well, like not stepping out to events that are necessarily Zendaya's events, like last night. We didn't see Tom Holland with her, and he talks about how he doesn't want to take the spotlight away from her because when they're together, it now becomes something about them and not just necessarily Zendaya or Tom. So I think they just make such a sweet couple together from what we see on the outside of it, and I'm very happy for them if this is true. I mean, it seems like it is very much true. So congratulations to them. That is very exciting, and that girl has a rock. So that is our Golden Globes recap. I mean, we said this a little bit ago, but what does this truly mean for the Oscars? My predictions right now, as it stands, before we see any other awards shows, SAG Awards, Critic Choice Awards, there's quite a few other awards still. I think The Brutalist definitely has a great chance of taking some of the biggest awards home on Oscars night.
I think Honora's gonna take a comeback.
I hope so. I can't lie. I think it's too early to tell, like to really guess yet, but tells me that they'll do better at the Oscars than they did at the Golden Globes, which means at least one award. I think they can do it for sure. And it'll just be very interesting to see who ends up getting those nominations for Best Picture and Best Actor and Actress in Supporting. So we just have to wait and see. We're a few weeks away from Oscar nomination announcements. So we'll be back to talk about those in a short few weeks when we have them.
Moving away from Golden Globes, we have some film and TV news. Starting off, G20 is coming to Prime Video April 10th, 2025.
So G20 is an upcoming action thriller that'll be through Amazon MGM Studios. It follows, according to Wikipedia, U.S. President Taylor Sutton, played by Viola Davis, must defend her family, fellow leaders, and the world when the G20 summit in Cape Town, South Africa, is taken over by terrorists. With Viola Davis, we have Anthony Anderson, Marcy Martin, Ramon Rodriguez, Anthony Starr, and a few other names as well on there, but I'm very intrigued to see what this movie is about and to see once we get a little more information, trailers, what this really holds.
Yeah, honestly, I think just the way Amazon is posting about this film in particular, I think it's going to have a big marketing and release plan. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, Viola Davis is an icon and a powerhouse, so it's going to be a badass movie either way.
Going back for like 2 seconds, because Viola Davis won the Cecil B. DeMille Award this year at the Golden Globes. Why was this the first year they did not give her the award during the ceremony? For almost every single year that the show has been going, the Golden Globes, they've done the Cecil B. DeMille Award during the live broadcast Golden Globe ceremony. This year, Viola Davis got her award on, I guess it was Friday night when they did like one of the separate awards because they do that. They have different like categories for different parts of it. And they clumped her in there with her, and they honored a little bit of it because she was one of the presenters. And the announcer, Kevin Frazier, said she was the winner of this year's Cecil B. DeMille Award. But what is up with that? What happened there? I just think that is such a big award and a very important award to honor whoever is getting it each year that it's such a shame to see them not get that few moments of a spotlight for that because it's so well deserved, especially, I mean, everyone who wins it is, I feel like, very deserving of it. Past winners we've seen, but Viola Davis, I mean, I love her
Come
so much.
on.
So many people love her. And so I think it's very sad that live audiences didn't see her speech, the chance to see her get the award. I mean, I'm glad they honored her quickly as she was giving someone else an award. I thought that was a shame. Yeah. Anyways, had to backpedal to that one. But moving into television, we have some announcements coming from Netflix. Meghan Markle's new 8-episode series titled With Love, Meghan is landing on the streaming platform on January 15th, and all 8 episodes will be released at the same time.
Megan is back in her influencer blogger era, and a lot of people are here for it. You know, she went quiet on social media last year, yeah, 2024. Um, so seeing her back has a lot of people excited and doing something that I don't want to say is out of the public eye, but doing like a passion project. I've seen a lot of hype over. So it'll be interesting to see what this holds.
I'm pretty sure one of the guest stars in it was Mindy Kaling because she was talking about it on the Golden
Mm,
Globes carpet with a reporter during the pre-show. So I think it'll be, you know what? There's so much controversy and everything that happened with the royal family and Harry and Meghan and all of that situation. But truly, I've always liked Meghan Markle. There's never really been a situation where she like completely rubbed me the wrong way to turn me off completely of like her brand and whatever she's putting out. I'm very intrigued to see what this series is. It looks more just definitely like a lifestyle series. So I think she'll definitely do well with this. The branding is on point for it. So I'm intrigued to see when it comes out next week.
Also in TV, a four-part SNL docu-series, SNL 50 Beyond Saturday Night, will air on January 16th on Peacock.
I am so excited for the 50th anniversary of SNL. I cannot wait to see what they have planned because you know they have some good stuff. And I think this is very smart marketing for them. I
Because
think,
it's literally exactly a month. Like January 16th is when the docu-series comes out, and then February 16th is when the 50th anniversary special is going to air on NBC and Peacock. So I think that planning is pretty good.
yes, so this docuseries is the executive producer is Morgan Neville, Gracie's favorite because he was the filmmaker behind Piece by Piece. The docuseries is 4 parts, like we said, so the different titles according to the NBC website is episode 1 is 5 minutes, showcases SNL auditions. Episode 2 is written by A Week Inside the SNL Writers Room. Episode 3 is more cowbell. And episode 4 is season 11, The Weird Year. So, of course, they focus on so many different aspects of the show, different stories. And I think this will be very interesting for especially people who have been like lifelong fans of this show, who have been watching it for a very long time. It'll be very interesting to revisit different parts of it, maybe find aspects you didn't know about the show, create a deeper appreciation for it. Certainly after Saturday Night last year by Jason Reitman, I was still a huge fan of that movie. And I could go on about how I feel like it was underappreciated, but nonetheless, that was very interesting for me as someone who enjoys the entertainment world and like working in this industry. It's very interesting to see how shows are made like this and how many people truly go into it. So I think it's very cool of NBC and Peacock and SNL to be honoring all of the hundreds and hundreds of people that have worked so hard to make this show happen for now 50 years. So I think it's very cool, and I'm sure it'll have a lot of good reviews for this.
And I just want to reiterate what I said before. Obviously, four-part docu-series, But then obviously the 3 hour SNL 50th anniversary special is airing a month later on February 16th on NBC and Peacock.
Love it. I cannot wait. Well, moving in, we have one cancellation and we also have an announcement for TV today. So, HBO has canceled the franchise after its first season. If you didn't watch the series at all, it is a satire superhero series, kind of mocked and made fun of and poked fun at Marvel and DC, just all the big superhero franchises and movies.
I personally didn't watch this, but I also feel like its cancellation, part of the reason for it is Marvel and DC do not like getting made fun of. So I feel like this definitely didn't land well for them specifically. But from the people who I know that have watched it, they really enjoyed it and they thought it was fun to see like not a happy, but like a funny way of looking at all these serious superhero films and franchises. So to each their own, I guess, but to those who liked it, you're only getting one season.
I feel like anytime you approach a film or television project with satire humor to it and
Mhm.
poking fun at things this way, I feel like it's 50-50 for sure. Like when you take something as big as Marvel and DC and just superheroes in general,
Hmm.
I can definitely see what they were trying to do and how this maybe could have been a hit.
Yeah,
From what I've heard of it, I just don't think it was maybe approached the correct way or like they went about it the right way or just
yeah.
maybe it wasn't marketed the right way. Maybe, like, who knows? But yeah, I definitely think that when you take a project like this, you really have to get a specific audience into it and you really have to approach it the right way so you don't have fan bases as big as Marvel and DC not backing you up for it.
Well, moving away from the cancellation, on to the announcement. Grimm reboot has been set at Peacock. Josh Berman is the executive producer with the original series creative team, and he is also the writer.
So that is all the news in film and TV land this week. So much exciting things going on. January is usually sometimes a slower month, especially for television and film, but I feel like
Mhm.
we're being treated and we have a lot of things to look forward to in the coming months. So it's very exciting to go over these things. But let's rewind a little bit. So, this week and last week, we've been doing a giveaway over on our Instagram for 3 digital copies of Wicked, which is out now. You can buy or rent it online, and the physical copies will be coming out in February for Blu-ray, HD, and regular DVD. But Gracie and I, we know we've both talked about Wicked a little bit on the show. Gracie gave her official review when we did our Glicked review. I did Gladiator 2. I've spoken about it a bit, but we wanted to give you another Wicked joint review here because it's safe to say I think both of us really enjoyed this film and we have very positive things to say about it. But this was in Gracie's top 10 movies of 2024, so I would love to hear your review again first.
It wasn't just in my top 10 movies, it was my top. So, which is crazy because I walked into this being like, I could either really love this or really hate this. There's no in between. I personally think that I'll give them props. I think their marketing strategy, first off, was something that really stuck with me and made me excited for it. So, shout out to the team there. As for the movie, it is so beautifully done. I don't even know how to like express it with words. The precision and attention to detail that the director has is so phenomenal. And there's so many hidden Easter eggs for fans of not only the original Wicked play, but also the Wizard of Oz, obviously. They just pay homage to both of those in such respectful ways, and I love that actress wise and actors because there's a huge ensemble and cast here from the backup dancers to the props people. Everybody in this film did a fantastic job. I also want to say costumes killed it because none of this would be as realistic as it was without these iconic looks. Like, obviously, Glinda's pink dress that we see is gorgeous, stunning. I want it. But yeah, the performances did make me cry. I didn't expect to cry, But as we've learned, I guess 2024 was a year for emotional movies and me bonding. But yeah, I can't say enough good things about this. I feel like it was the perfect length in time that it didn't feel like it dragged on, but it also left enough unsaid for a second part, which I'm thoroughly excited about. But yeah, Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, that entire cast just gave such stellar performances, and it's what's kept me going back to the movie, watching it multiple times now, and what's kept me keeping the whole album on repeat, really, because it's just so iconic. And you can tell that it was a passion project and that they knew how powerful it was going to be. So if you haven't watched Wicked, highly recommend it. Even if you're not a musical or musical theater type of person, I do think it's one of those movies that has something for everyone.
I completely agree with everything you just said. You covered like every base there was to cover. I personally have never been a huge musical fan, and this movie completely swayed me to the other side to love musicals. I wish every musical could be Wicked. I love it. I love it so much. I've always, I kicked myself for not seeing Wicked when it was in Toronto, the live stage production
Oh, me too.
last summer, but I knew very little about this movie and like this storyline going into it. Obviously, I knew very connected to Wizard of Oz, all of this, Wicked Witch of the West, Glinda, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't know too much about it besides that, and I was very thoroughly impressed with everything Gracie talked about, every aspect. You have the music, you have the performances, you have the costumes, you have the set design, you have the pace at which it was told. I agree with you that it was the perfect length. I was like, I hope this doesn't drag on and feel like I'm sitting here for almost 3 hours, and it definitely didn't. It really flew by, and I am very excited for part two. I also don't know too much about that, so I'm very excited to go in blindly again and to have that same kind of like eye-opening experience when I see Wicked Part 2 later this year in November. But yes, I love this movie. I definitely think what's interesting about it is it's very rewatchable, and I wouldn't usually
Yeah.
say like a 3 hour movie is very rewatchable,
Real.
but you just got to watch it over and over and over again. I think it's fantastic. Something I've said it before and I've said it, I'll say it again so many times that when you have actors and creators who are so invested in what they're creating, it is always a million times better. And you can tell how much, I mean, everybody on this film cares. You see through the press tour how much they just spoke highly about everyone on set. Um, and how they felt going into this role. And but specifically, I mean, Ariana Grande, if you've seen all of the videos about her auditioning and wanting this part, and how she would always constantly voice, like, if I don't get it, it's okay. It wasn't meant to be. Like, I understand someone else will be meant to play it. And I don't think anyone could have played it as well as her. She was
No.
so perfect in this role. And the exact same goes for Cynthia Erivo. No one could have played Elphaba like she did. I was just completely blown away by it. I wasn't necessarily surprised that I was blown away because I think
Yeah.
everyone was expecting this to be incredible. And this was that movie that really lived up to its hype. So I'm very excited that people can now finally watch it at home. If you didn't get a chance to see it in theaters, I mean, it's still in theaters. You can still go to theaters now too.
There's a
But
sing-along too in theaters, which I
there
really want to go
is.
to.
But and again, or if you've seen it, rewatch it, rent it at home, buy it at home, and yes, I was just very impressed by this film overall. I can't say enough great things about it either, and I'm very, very excited for later this year to see where part two takes us.
We also were lucky enough to get screeners to an amazing film called The Room Next Door, which was given to us by Star PR and Mongrel Media. So thank you to them. This is going to be our section where we review it now because obviously we did a review on Wicked. Gotta do a review on this. But Nicole, what was your thoughts on this film?
You know what? This film, I went into this film not knowing too much about it. Overall, I'm very, very happy to say that I really enjoyed this film. Tilda Swinton, Julianne Moore are the two stars of this film, and they are exceptional together. This movie follows Tilda Swinton's character Martha and her diagnosis with cancer, and we find out she is on a trial for this drug, and it's not completely working. And when she reunites with Julianne Moore's character Ingrid, they have had a very lengthy past history for friendship when they worked at a magazine company together. Then they went on separate paths for their life and they reunite at this stage in Martha's life. And basically, Martha decides that she doesn't want to spend what time she has left trying out experimental treatments and drugs and hospitals and going through all these experiments. Finally, Martha tells Ingrid that she does not want to continue with this treatment and she wants to end her life on her own terms. So she basically wants to do assisted suicide in a way. So she finds this pill on the black market and she asks Ingrid if she would be willing to basically go to this cabin out of the city with her and be in the room next door when she takes the pill and passes away. And this film, it's very interesting in what it does because it's very well done in how it explores their friendship and the history that they have to get us to a point where we understand what kind of backstory both these characters have, both within their friendship and then within their personal lives outside of this friendship too, and what has happened to make them the person that we see in this film at this present time. And what it does is it really conveys to the audience that to have that understanding of what would you do if you had so much time left, or if you were at a certain point in your life, what would you want to do with what time you had left? Would you want to keep fighting? Would you want to not fight and enjoy what time you have left? Who would you surround yourself with? And I think it's very interesting. And those are the aspects that it reminded of We Live in Time to me, because I think both films are so well done in how they explore those topics and really have audiences question to themselves, what does time mean to you? And not everyone has that same definition of time and what they do with what they choose to do with their life and what past they would do, because not everyone would agree with this and what happens in this movie, and not everyone would be willing to help their friends with something like this or to help a family member or think this is the correct path. And I think we also see in their friendship how they respect each other's boundaries. They respect each other's choices. Ingrid in the movie, we find out very early on, is very scared of death. And so throughout this film, we see her go through that journey through Martha and kind of understand and accept that this is what she wants to do. And do we think it's necessarily what Ingrid would do? We don't know. But it really explores in depth what friendship means to them and how they define friendship within themselves and how they were there for each other in circumstances that are extremely out of the ordinary. And I think Julianne and Tilda really worked well together in these dynamic roles. They were both, like I said, very different characters in their own aspect, but then again, they're very alike in some ways. And I think they did a really great job of exploring both ends of that and bringing this to life. Obviously, this is very sad story. It's very melancholy. It's a drama. So if any of those kind of speak to you, this is definitely a great film to check out. It comes out in theaters this Friday on January 10th. And this did win the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival last year. So, yes, I definitely give this film a thumbs up. I thought it was very well done. I was impressed with the performances. I thought it was very cool to see the shift in setting too, and I felt like the shift in settings kind of shifted where the characters were in their journey when they went from like the big, loud, noisy city to this like secluded in the forest kind of house when they were together, the two of them. And I don't know, I just think I think they really did a great job of just exploring this theme of friendship and also acceptance in each other and accepting your differences and very much questioning what does time mean to everyone and understanding that everyone has a different definition of that. And so I thought it was just very sweet and sad all at once, and I really enjoyed The Room Next Door. So, like I said, you can check it out in theaters this Friday.
I completely agree with everything you said. Obviously, this very heartfelt film. Definitely go check out this film when it comes out. And thank you again to Star PR and Mongrel Media for giving us access to these screeners.
Well, we have reached that point in the episode to talk about our always beloved weekly watches. Gracie, what did you watch this week?
My watch of the week was actually something I watched with Nicole when we hung out together. We watched Red One, which I know we're a little late to. Obviously, it's not Christmas anymore, but I saw a clip on TikTok and it was of Nick Kroll in Red One, and that convinced me to watch the movie. And I am sad to report that that was the only part we really enjoyed. But here's our joint review of Red One, starring Chris Evans and The Rock and J.K. Simmons. I want to start off by saying I had high hopes going into this. Paul and I were really hoping for this movie. We were like, I wonder why it had such a short cinematic release. Like, it should have stayed longer. It should have done better. The answer is no. No, it should not have. Because this might be one of the worst Christmas movies I've seen in a while. And I say that with so much love and respect for every actor who was in this film because I love them. Love Chris Evans, love Dwayne The Rock Johnson, love Kiernan Shipka, love J.K. Simmons. Everybody slayed, but they didn't slay in a good way. So I don't know how to. It felt like there was a lot of plot holes. I didn't like what many people on Twitter are calling Ozempic Santa. I looked it up after the film, and that is indeed a trending thing for this movie. No hate to J.K. Simmons. He looked ripped. He was doing great, but it just didn't feel Christmassy and it didn't feel festive. It just felt like a very half done film. The potential was there, but it just didn't land. But we also know people who love this movie, so I guess it's to each their own.
Something that was really off for me was the dialogue and some of the writing
Yeah.
for it. It didn't always land. And sometimes I was left sitting there thinking, what did they just say? Like, did
Did
I
you
just
hear
hear
that
that
too?
correctly? I agree with Gracie. I was not a fan of this film. I'm sad to report. I just I don't know. I love, like Gracie said, the actors in this movie individually. Like I do love them in a lot of the projects they're in. And
Hmm.
I'm not saying it was like their performances specifically, because obviously all of them did do a bad job at their performances in this film. I don't know if it was like just the dialogue, the plot itself. Sometimes it just felt very all over the place. There's a lot of things that happen in this film. It is almost, I believe, I think it is a 2 hour running time, and a lot happens in that 2 hour running time, and it really goes back and forth between a lot of different ideas. I just felt it was too jumpy, and it kind of was trying to do a lot. And I mean, 2 hours is a lot of time, but it's still not a ton of time. And so
It
I
felt like a long two
it
hours.
did. And it was just a lot of things. There was, like Gracie said, a lot of plot holes, in my opinion. And the depiction of the North Pole. We need to talk about its
Oh,
depiction of the North Pole because in my heart, I cannot
Nicole
believe.
as a Christmas fanatic was, I had to,
Horrifying.
she had to like, I had to hold her. She was just livid. Like,
I cannot believe in my heart that the North Pole is like an industrial cityscape. I just can't.
the North Pole is not New York. It's not Toronto. It is the North
No,
Pole.
no. And it was too all over the place for me. I think that was, yeah.
You know what my problem was? You just brought up a really good point. Where was Rudolph?
This girl, for like 5 minutes when we first saw the reindeer, was like, "Where's Rudolph?"
There was an even amount of reindeers, and none of them had a red nose.
Well, hey,
But
their
I will
antlers
say
were glowing.
their antlers were glowing, which also, let's be so for real, reindeers do not have glowing antlers. Um,
They fly, but their antlers
they
don't
fly,
glow.
they eat carrots. Listen, them being powered by carrots and stuff, I can live with. But the glowing antlers, mm-mm. That was my problem.
And cut.
Mm.
My other watch of the week that I want to talk about a little bit as well is Primal Fear. My mom and I watched it. It stars Richard Gere, Laura Linney, Edward Norton, and Frances McDormand, I want to point out because I loved her in this film too. But I am now almost 30 years too late to this, but I am so upset that Edward Norton did not win the Best Supporting Actor Oscar for this awards. This was Edward Norton's first big film in his career. This was his breakout role, and I cannot tell you how floored I was by his performance in this film. And I mean, Laura Linney, Richard Gere, they did a fantabulous job too. I think this was like specifically also a great era in their career. Obviously, this film is from 1996. And this is when they were at a very big height in their career, for sure. I am upset that Edward Norton did not win Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars for this, the year this movie came out, because fantastic job. If this does not show you the range that this man has as an actor, I don't know what does, because it genuinely, I cannot remember the last time I was shocked by a movie as I was by Primal Fear, because I don't want to spoil it. I know this is, again, almost 30 years old, but if you haven't watched it, I implore you to go watch it, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but I will say I I gasped. I gasped, and you will know what I'm talking about when you see it. If you watch it, you will know what I mean. I'm not even gonna tell you when it happens. It's just so good. And Edward Norton completely was just the knockout in this film. I was just so impressed by him. In the storyline itself, it is a basically this movie is a crime thriller. Edward Norton's character is an altar boy. He's put on trial for the murder of a He's put on trial for murder of a bishop. Richard Gere is his defense attorney. Laura Linney is the prosecutor. They all did such a fantastic job, but my goodness, Edward Norton. I am upset that I did not know about this movie until now, but now that I do, overall, the movie itself, I love 90s crime thrillers specifically. I think it should be like a genre of its own. 90s crime thrillers just needs to be its whole area, and we need to make more of them. But the storyline does get a little slow paced at some points, but I think it definitely picks itself back up. It didn't take away from the love I had for this film overall, and I just really enjoyed it. So definitely not catch, but definitely watch Primal Fear. You will not regret it. It is a great film. Moving on, Gracie, what is your song of the week?
I'm gonna do a throwback song because I pressed shuffle on my playlist. I can't even say my playlist. Spotify gave me a hype getting ready mix, and I pressed shuffle on that. And the song Might Not Like Me by Bryn Elliott came on, which I used to have religiously on repeat when it came out. So I'm gonna give her a shout out. Bryn, I love her. She's so sweet. Go check out her music. She just started making music again, and it's fantastic. So love you, girl. Nicole, what was your song of the week?
I'm back on my country playlist since Christmas is now gone. Smile by Morgan Wallen, his latest single came out on December 31st. He kind of, well, I feel like he was really hinting up to it, but he dropped it randomly on December 31st, and so good. I mean, I'd been listening to it on TikTok for months now with like the one clip that had been released. But I really hope we're getting an album announcement soon, because people say, like, last album we had with One Thing at a Time, he had 3 singles released before he announced the full album. Now we have 3 singles released. We have Lies, Love Somebody, and Smile. So I'm really hoping we're gearing up to an album announcement soon for Mr. Morgan Wallen. But Smile, so good. I mean, it's definitely a really sad song, guys. So I'm really with a high energy here telling you to go listen to this really depressing song. But I mean, Morgan killed it again, as always. So definitely on repeat for me. You know what? This very well could end up being my top song of the year already, because
Really? Wow.
I've easily listened to it 50 times already. Like, easily.
Anyway, we are moving on to the last segment of this show, our upcoming releases. Nicole, what are we starting with?
We are starting with the series On Call. It is having its premiere on Prime Video on January 9th. I actually didn't know too much about this, and then I was looking at it earlier today when I was making this list. We have Troy Bellisario, Brandon Larracoon, Lori Loughlin, Bart Johnson, a
Wow.
number of great names in this series, again, coming to Prime Video on January 9th.
Also on January 9th, we have The Traitor Season 3, which will be on Peacock. Obviously, it's gone for 3 seasons. I've heard nothing but fantastic things about this show, so I'm excited to see what season 3 holds for not only the cast, but also the fans.
All the streaming platforms are really popping off on January 9th, because over on Max, we also have the series premiere of The Pit.
Also on January 9th, Netflix has a new limited series, American Primeval. Not much is really known about it, but January 9th is still going strong for releases.
Now we're taking it over to the theatrical releases coming this weekend on January 10th. We have Den of Thieves 2, Pantera releasing in theaters.
And as we talked about earlier, The Room Next Door is also having a theatrical release, also on January 10th.
Then we also have Canadian film Young Murder having its theatrical release on January 10th. And tomorrow we will actually have an interview for this film for you guys to check out, keeping it under wraps a little bit. So we'll let you know about that tomorrow.
Also on January 10th, as the theatrical release, we have The Seed of the Sacred Fig.
Then taking it back over to streaming, we have Goosebumps Season 2. This season is titled Goosebumps: The Vanishing, starring David Schwimmer. It is on Disney Plus and Hulu beginning January 10th.
I have not heard about this until now, but Disney Plus on January 15th is releasing A Real Bug's Life Season 2.
And to close it out for us this week over on Netflix on January 15th, we have Public Disorder. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's show. As always, thank you so much for tuning in and hearing all the news about the entertainment world, what's happening in music, movies, and film. We're always happy to share with you. Like we said, tomorrow we will have an interview for you to check out, so head back over to Spotify or YouTube, wherever you're listening or watching on, and we'll have some content for you there. But thank you for tuning in to episode 35 of As Seen on Screen. I'm Nicole.
I'm Gracie, and as Nicole said, you can find us wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts on Spotify or YouTube.
We will be back same time next week, and we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.